Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode here on the Taco Podcast. My name is Will, and if you're new here, I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of the Taco Podcast. So, where have I been? What's been going on with the Taco Podcast? It's been at least, this will now be the third week, since I've uploaded anything on the Taco Podcast. I haven't gone away. I'm not quitting the channel. I had to sit down and really understand exactly what YouTube was doing. Let me tell you now what YouTube has decided to do. All right, a little bit before the 1st of March, YouTube decided that, they put out a news release that they're going to start offering podcasts, an actual dedicated stream for podcasts on their site. Great. Does that podcast have to have a visual element? Because YouTube is a visual, media, system. People want to watch and listen. Does it have to? They didn't say. Is it going to be audio only, audio and visual only, or one or the other? I had to dive into it and I had to find out. This has always been meant to be a podcast. The video, what you are watching right now, and hopefully you're enjoying, has always been a secondary part of the Taco Podcast. For the longest time since we started the Taco Podcast, me and my wife, who is the co-host and, in and out on this channel, in case you're new here. The idea of the Taco Podcast always was to be an audio-only entertainment. It was never meant to be a high production or even a low production. Video has always been a secondary thought to the Taco Podcast because we uploaded the Taco Podcast to SoundCloud, iTunes, and then we started messing around with, a couple of different companies that uploaded it to different, avenues, different, where people would, find the Taco Podcast. That worked out okay for a while, but then it didn't. But anyways, we stuck with SoundCloud for all these years. We had some terrific, explosive, views and listen and downloads in the first year, 2 years of the Taco Podcast. And then it kind of leveled out and then it stayed right about where it is. We get between 35 and 100 people, in a weekly, depending upon the topic, who download and listen to it either afterwards, and listen to it when they're working, or maybe when they're driving, or maybe they're cleaning, their homes. They listen to the podcast, and those podcast episodes have absolutely no visual part of it at all. It's just a spoken word like you're watching now. Just imagine if you didn't have the screen. That's exactly what that version of the Taco Podcast always was. It was always meant to be that. Here on YouTube, we have to add the visual element to it because the podcast on YouTube is a visual format first and audio format second. So we had to shoot one episode just to be uploaded to SoundCloud and to iTunes, and then we had to make another episode of 154 episodes, and we had to make then to put up here on YouTube with a visual. So again, backtracking to the beginning of March. They said they're going to put in this entire dedicated system just for podcasts, but they didn't give us a lot of information about it. So we released a couple more episodes of the Taco Podcast. And then YouTube like they do with a lot of things, they play loosely with the information, and they put out a little snippet of information about, it's going to be a visual only. And this is how you take your existing episodes and make them a podcast only format. Well, what if it has video? Is that their idea of a podcast? Is it a video and audio? Or do they scrub the video completely and only have, the audio version of it? They didn't say. So, we waited and waited, and finally they made the announcement how to take the actual content you have and move it to a podcast only server and everything that is dedicated just for podcasting. So that's where we are today. We're finally in here on YouTube, back where we belong, where we've always wanted to be. Hopefully, we have to upload only the one. We've since taken everything from SoundCloud and everything off of iTunes, and we have them stored to the cloud. We may upload them later back to it, but right now everything has been delisted. I mean, we didn't pull it all off, one by one. We just delisted everything while we try to figure out what is the best course of action for this content and for you, the viewer and listener out there. So what else has been going on since the last Taco podcast? And the last Taco podcast, I let everyone know that we had brought another person into our home, a teenager who is in desperate need and needs someone to love them, understand them, and to support them. This person, is on the autism spectrum, and where they weren't getting their needs and their education, and nobody was helping them move along. A matter of fact, most of their family had completely abandoned this individual. We are in the situation in our lives where we could bring this person from several states away to our home to be here, and we have the space in our home to be able to, and the time and the love and the attention and the money, there's all that. We're not getting paid to do this. And there was some speculation out there that we were getting paid to do this. No, this is something that we decided. This is a friend of the families, and they know them through their church. We decided that this was the right course of action, because we couldn't sit back and watch someone who we know has a lot of potential, who has the ability to, the stars, is the only thing that should be restricting them, to be cast aside just because they were born, not neurotypical. And it's sad. But we brought them in, and since they've been here about 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks now. Well, you'll see this; it'll be 3 weeks, but when they've been here, there's been some ups and downs. They're slowly coming out of their cocoon that they've built up around them, the walls that they've put up to protect themselves. It's tough. It's not easy, and it's not something that maybe we completely understood, but we have the time, we have the attention, and we have the finances to be able to do this. And we're working on certain aspects to get them situated still, getting transcripts transferred from their state to here so they can enroll in school. On top of that, getting identification so they can get a job or whatever they need, getting them situated with social services, because this individual has been pretty much neglected by their family. I'm talking about mother and father and then extended family, going back to about the age of 13. They cast this person aside and was like, look, you're damaged goods. It's basically how they treated, and said, look, there's nothing that you're ever going to accomplish. We have to spend our energy on the other ones within the family who have a chance. And sad. It's truly sad, but we're here to step in. Yeah, we're not going to be here forever. This individual's not going to be in our home, for 10, 15 years. We're trying to get them situated because they're going to be becoming an adult here fairly soon. And we want to make sure that we can set them up with, and for success, but make sure that all of the things that they need in life are there in front of them, that they can get housing, that they can get transportation, so they can get, to and from, groceries, or learn the basics. This person has never been to the grocery store and done grocery shopping, even tiny little bit. They skills that you think that you know as an adult, they lack all of it. They do have the skills of basic hygiene, and some more advanced hygiene. So they're able to take care. This person's able to take care of that. But at the same time, they have to be reminded of it, and it's hard. I mean, I'm not looking, to adopt someone to replace, one of my, or bring in another person as my child. I'm looking to help someone to be successful for the future. It saddens me, greatly that the parents would just abandon their child like this, but it happens. From what we have known for an awful long time, well before our son was ever born and ever diagnosed with autism, we've known that these things happen within the autism community, and it happens a lot with children who were born with severe, mental issues, and those who were born with Down syndrome. They are just abandoned, and it's been happening since, well, America was formed. They were sent off to institutions. They were locked away. I mean, look at no further than what the Kennedys did. And I'm talking about JFK, Bobby Kennedy, what their parents did to their sister. She was born with epilepsy and most likely had, some form of learning disability. Might have been autism, could have been Down syndrome, but she was born that way. So they sent her off to a state hospital for the rest of her life. And then while she was there, they gave her a frontal lobotomy. They thought that maybe it would cure her because that was the medical, knowledge at the time. The frontal lobotomy never cures anybody of anything. It makes a vegetable, basically. And I hate to use that term, but you can understand what my point from that, though. But the Kennedys, they abandoned, their own sister, their daughter. It's been happening, and it's still happening all across the world. These children are, maybe you don't see them within your community. I hear it a lot, and a lot of people I was talking to in a forum on Facebook, parents of, the children on the spectrum. Someone asked who was in the group, they said, why is it we never see children, with autism in the Asian community out there? Oh, they're there, ladies and gentlemen. You just don't see them because they're hidden away. They're not brought out and treated as a member of the family in public. I'm not saying all, Asian families do that. And you can find other ethnicities that do the same thing. And they're just like social economic levels. There's those with the means and ability to help, and push the individual and get the services that someone who's on the spectrum needs. And then there are those who just give up. Well, I can't help you, and you're never going to really amount to anything, as in the case of this individual. And they pushed him aside and said, look, we have to spend our energy and our time and our money and our resources on the rest. We're sorry, but that's the fact of life. And that happens in a lot of families. If they can't send them off or put them in a group home someplace, they then just, well, I guess you can live out your life, watching television, and We're never going to ask much of you or expect much of you because you are, I hate to say it, but like this family thought, damaged goods. You're not damaged. Autism is not damaged. And just like this individual, my son, and so many others out there that you will ever meet in your life who are on the spectrum, they're just as bright as everyone else, if not more. And every single one of them has a heart of gold. They have the ability to accomplish so much in this world, if not more than other people who never, push themselves, never, advance their education. They're able to do everything. There's some barriers out there that are other roadblocks that are thrown up that are not there for someone who is neurotypical. But they want to learn. They want to be part of society. They may ask for a small accommodation or need a small accommodation, even if they don't ask for it. But they're there. These people are all around you. There are people that are doctors, lawyers, police officers, and firefighters, pilots of jets that are on the spectrum, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. There are people out there in all aspects of the world around you who are on the spectrum of autism. You just don't know it, and a lot of people don't exactly say, ooh, me. I have autism. I'm on the spectrum. They're there. They're there in every walk of, in facet of life. I have great hopes for my son. I have great hopes for this young adult that we've brought in who are working to help in every possible way to get them situated. So all of the things that should be there for this individual can be and will be there for them so they can succeed. So that is my message today on where has the Taco Podcast gone? When will it be back? And what has been going on behind the camera? It's a long learning curve. I'm an analog man, living in a digital world. I don't understand anything. If I push the button on my computer to turn it on and it doesn't turn on, I have two options. One, take a sledgehammer to it, bust it into 1,000,000 pieces, put the metal pieces in the metal recycling, put the plastic pieces in the plastic recycling. That's option one. Option two is go buy something new. I don't know why it won't turn on. Hopefully and luckily, my daughter is around and she can show me that the power strip bar got tripped and I need to turn it back on. Therefore, it'll start to work again. Again, I am an analog man living in a digital world. I may make a lot of this look easy, but technology is the only thing that makes any of this possible, and the help from my daughter who can show me, hey Dad, you push this button to record, you push this button to take a picture, you push this button to end everything, and then you take it over to your computer and then you edit it down and get rid of all the pauses and the ums and the ahs and everything else that drives your audience absolutely bonkers. Because nobody wants to hear your Midwestern slang, your cadence. They don't want to hear that. So, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that so many of you out there, that who have been reaching out to me about where the Taco Podcast is, when it'll be back, are satisfied with the answer that I've given today. I will see you next weekend. In the meantime, if you have a topic of something that you would like to hear covered here on the Taco Podcast, we would love for you to comment on this video anything and anything, that has to do with surviving. This channel is not all about, autism and those who are on the spectrum. The suggestion that we're currently working on is somebody wants to know, what kind of fans? What are we a fan of? Are we a fan of death metal? Or are we a fan of acoustic music? Or are we a fan of good soap opera? Or are we a fan of this or that? So we're actually writing out a list of things that we enjoy and that we are fans of for a future episode. Again, if you have an idea, drop it down below and give this video a thumbs up. If not, fine. If you want to subscribe, I would appreciate that more than anything. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you stay safe out there, and I will see you next weekend.